So I'm just going to get now, I want you to think a little bit about, and this is called in Speakers Institute, this is getting you to think about looking good versus making a difference. And I'm going to give you an example from myself here. So we call this the fulcrum and lever, and I'm not exactly sure of the background of why it's called that, but basically we want you to shift from focusing on looking good. So as an example, for me, I mentioned at the beginning, I never wanted to be a keynote speaker. I actually had, major mental health issues. I had panic attacks. So for me, the thought of getting on stage, the thought of talking about any of these things was quite overwhelming for me. So when I would go to get on stage, when I eventually became a speaker, I spent so much time thinking about, oh my God, what if I have a panic attack? What if I forget my words? What if I trip going on stage? So I was worried about me looking good. That's where my focus was. And if you do that, then we're not really focusing on making a difference. So if I want to either look good, or in most of the cases for me, it was like I was trying to avoid looking bad. Like I didn't want to forget my words. I didn't want to, have that moment where I feel embarrassed on stage because I've had a panic attack. But if you can shift your focus then into how am I going to make a difference? And for me, where I shifted my thinking was, if there is one person in this audience that I can reach out to. So if that person calls their GP, if they go to see a psychologist, if they chat to a friend about their mental health, that for me is a win. That I might never know about it. They may never tell me anything about it. But if I trust that no matter whether it's a room of 5 people or 5,000, that if one person, that is what got me on stage every single time. So it may be different for you, but in the core of your message or the core of what you're passionate about, thinking about what is the difference I want to make, and that's going to be the thing that gets you on stage, gets you to promote your book, gets you on social media, gets you to, stand up in front of the board or do your corporate presentation, whatever it might be. But don't focus on yourself. If you do that, you're going to be completely in your head. You're going to be overthinking and ruminating and escalating everything that's going on. But if you think about the good you can do in the world, then that is where you shift your energy. You start to come from your heart. You start to come from that authentic place as well, which is so much better. You will have so much bigger contribution in the world if you do that. So any thoughts on that? I'm just going to stop sharing for a second so I can see all the lovely faces. Any thoughts on that? Laura, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're shifting from making sure that we look good, avoiding looking bad, to just having that bigger contribution. But I suppose in one thing that I struggle with, because I think, oh, if I look good and I say all the right things, how to have that credibility, because sometimes you want to make sure that, I know that there's a lot of judgy people and you're not going to appease everyone, but how to still be authentic and still how to, not focusing on everything being perfect, but yet still being viewed as credible, and not having certain levels of mistake or not looking so bad that people will then dismiss you. Can you talk a little bit about the difference? Because it's not like looking good and avoiding looking bad is not at all important.
Absolutely. No, that's a really good distinction. And I think, like none of this replaces the fact that we need to be prepared. If you're going to get up on stage, if you're going to do a board presentation, if you're going to launch a book, if you're going to go on social media, having a degree of being prepared for what you're going to do. And that's where you weave your credibility into it. So you're already thinking about, what do I need to say? How am I going to say it? You know what your keynote is. But the moment that you go into delivery, or if you spend too much time even in crafting your keynote and thinking, oh, I'm loading it up with all of this credibility stuff, so I'm trying to look good, I want to look good, then you're going to miss the core of the message that you're trying to go through. So there's, if a practical way, if I can get you to think of it in terms of whether it's a presentation, whether it's a keynote, no matter what you're delivering, go through it. And yes, there's, we're all human. We're going to want to look good. We're not going to want to look bad. Go through, deliver, like, as in have everything prepared with that, but shift yourself then into that place of, now I'm making a difference. I've done my preparation. I know that I am, shit hot at what I do. I am, one of the best in my field. Like, really give yourself that confidence and certainty that you're there for a reason. And if you feel the doubt and the negative self-talk coming in, that is your warning sign to shift into, how can I now be of service? What is the difference that I'm going to make in this one audience? So, if it's a corporate board meeting, okay, what is a decision that I need to be made for the greater good of all? If it's a keynote, then who are the people in the audience that you're trying to influence? Maybe it is that we're making better decisions about fossil fuels. Dr. Caroline, you mentioned about that. It's like, okay, what is your mission? What is it that you're trying to influence people? And you're shifting yourself into that, as opposed to being in your head and overly thinking about me, instead of being of service. Does that answer
That
your...
helps. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Great. Anyone else just on that, just on package, or anything that didn't make sense on? Go ahead, Mina.
Just quickly, when you say it's important to be authentically you, how do you actually discover that? Or is that something that we're going to discover and I just need to wait?
So I'm going to give you, this is not the Speakers Institute standard response to this, because I don't know that we have a standard response to that. But for me, I think we all get so hung up. Like, I mean, I'm a coach in my day-to-day world. The amount of people who come to me who want to be authentic or be more authentic, for me, it's a lifetime work. You're constantly, but to me, what it boils down to is, how can you show up being the most authentic version of yourself in any given moment? So that might look different when you're at home with the pets and the kids, to being in a boardroom. It'll look different than when you're standing on stage. It'll look different when you're out at a barbecue with friends. So I think people get hung up on, oh, authenticity means I have to be this model of myself, but it is ever evolving. We're going to go through some work today on limiting beliefs. We talk about self-sabotage. We talk about things like imposter syndrome was brought up earlier as well. Those are the kind of things that, that's a lifetime of work. We're constantly evolving, constantly growing, constantly learning who we actually are and uncovering who we are. But in any given moment, if we can show up as the most authentic version of ourselves, to me, that's what authenticity is. And it's like, am I being true to myself? Am I being the most authentic expression of myself in this moment? Does that help, Mina?
Listen, I think it does. Yeah, maybe I'll discover more as we go through the course today. Because I know we do change how we come across in different settings, the settings that you have described.
Yes.
But I guess if we're doing something that's a little bit more staged and professional, I guess I'm not sure yet who that is. I'm not yet sure who I am.
Yes, and it is, and that is like, give yourself grace for that. But
Yeah.
it is, if you're betraying yourself in the moment and you're trying to pretend that you're an expert in something that you're not. So if you decide, oh, today I'm going to deliver a keynote on resilience, but finance is my core expertise, but I see an opportunity and I'm just going to take it. You're going to know you're being incongruent. You're going to feel it physically in your body. You're going to know that it's not you. And it's tuning into some of those things that are the finer details that is. And today you will, when we go through some of the limiting belief work, you will actually start to see, okay, that's one of the things that I need to work on. And, for any of them, definitely the coaches in the room, we all know that this is a lifetime of work. This is not something that, it's one tick in the box and we're done. But just give yourself grace to just think that, so long as I am not pretending to be someone I'm not, or betraying myself, that I'm kind of putting myself into a position where I'm making myself less than, because that doesn't serve us either.
Yep.
Great. So stay tuned, more to learn on this. Anyone else just on that shifting point? So it is that tipping yourself that if you find that negative voice inside of you where you're thinking about yourself and you're ruminating on that or maybe escalating on that, then tipping yourself into, how can I be of service? How can I make a difference? Okay, good, good. Take a moment, everyone. I want you to just in the notes section of your notebook or just on your pen and paper beside you, what is coming up for you right now? I just want you to capture a note for yourself around making a difference. So, you know, maybe what is one trap that you might fall into where you've noticed that you might be getting worried about yourself, but then on the other side, what is something that you know, like for me, which was if I can make a difference with one person, that might not be your thing, but just take a moment now that we've gone through that.